Hello, Cancer Collective. This is your reading predictions for 2024. I've already pre-shuffled the cards, meditated on messages to open the reading up with. But I just want to remind you guys that this is a general reading and the things that come up in the cards may not resonate with all of you. Do not feel bad if it does not. I do realize this series is actually quite long, so when you have free time, I recommend that you watch the videos associated with your moon and your rising signs. They are equally important for you to get a full and complete picture for the coming year. And I do have a favor to ask. If anything in this reading resonates with you, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I do realize that new things as humans, we tend not to trust new things. It's just part of our nature, but I do publish these videos on a monthly basis, and it's no strings attached. Everything is free. I will never message you to ask you for your money or for your business. So, Cancer Collective, I got mixed energies here to open the reading up for 2024. So let me just go through it. So I got the Fool reversed. I got the Queen of Swords reversed, the Five of Coins reversed, the Two of Swords, the Page of Swords reversed, Six of Coins, and the Tower. So a lot of change seems to be coming, and I feel like you're a little scatterbrained. Of course, that's not an insult or meant to be a slight in any way, but I get a sense that there's a difference between what's going on in your mind and what's going on in the physical world and reality. I get a sense that things that are going on in reality, it's positive change, but you're really in your head about it. With the Tower and the Six of Coins, it looks like it could be a sudden offer of employment. And it's very natural to feel hesitance and worry over what could happen, especially if this new job offer, business opportunity, whatever, if it pulls you out of your comfort zone, more specifically, if it pulls you out of the place that you have lived for years that you're comfortable with, and places you in an area that you're not really familiar with at all. You have no friends, you have no, you don't really know anybody. I get a sense that, with the Queen of Swords reversed and the Page of Swords reversed, yeah, there's a lot of scattered energy here. I feel like you're all over the place frantically trying to piece everything together so that you can prepare for the new step ahead, for this new cycle you're going into. So I get a sense that for some of you, you've been given this sudden offer. Six of Coins being an offer of, I just keep associating that with an offer of employment of some sort. Take it as it resonates, but I get a sense that you feel like you don't have enough information to accept the offer. With the Fool reversed, that's where the hesitance to accept it comes from. But Five of Coins is reversed too, which means that you're coming out of the darkness and back into the light. You're recovering and healing, and you're ready to move to your next chapter, so to speak. But there's a sense for some of you that you have a lack of direction. You don't really have people or mentors to depend upon to actually advise you where to go. I feel like some of you are kind of acting as trailblazers. Nobody in your family has ever done what you've done or what you're about to do, so you can't really lean on a lot of people to give you adequate advice that you can trust. So yeah, it's the kind of trepidation over walking into the unknown, which is very, very, very normal. So this is a tiny little message here, and I, as a reader, I don't like to give these warnings, but just be cautious of malicious gossip, bitter air energies, because Page of Swords reverse and Queen of Swords reverse could represent you having conflict with an Aquarius, a Gemini, or a Libra. So just be aware of that. I do get a sense with this sudden offer and employment, I get a sense it's lucrative, and you might be battling some envious, the evil eye, so to speak. So, but overall, I feel like this is going to be helpful for you, because the Oracle card that I got to kind of tie all this together was helpful change. Not every single Tower event is bad. I know people tend to look at the Tower and immediately start panicking, but Tower just means upheaval. It means things that are sudden, and it means change. And with this card coming out, this is this right here is the reason why I mentioned there's a such thing as a good a good tower, because this says helpful change. It's butterfly, which is all about transformation. And it says you will navigate through change successfully by allowing the universe to assist you when you need it most. So I get a sense that I did mention that you are kind of a trailblazer and you don't have people around you that have done what you are about to do before. So you're really going to have to strengthen your ties and your trust in the divine. Because I feel like the energies that will be helping you are in the 5-dimensional, not necessarily in the 3-dimensional. The 5-dimensional in some circumstances tends to move a little quicker than the 3-dimensional, and then it takes time for it to transpose over to this realm. And that's the energy that I'm getting here, is that you're bracing for this new chapter. So yeah, that's what I got for opening up. So let's go ahead and get into the reading. So for the year prediction, this video will probably be about an hour long, because I pull cards on each month, so 12 months. I pull a card from this deck and I read it upright, and then I'll pull one clarification, maybe two, depending on how the energies hit for each month. And then afterward, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull an oracle card for each astrological house, and then close out the reading after I've done that. So 2024, I feel like for a lot of people, 2024 is going to end up being a karmic year. 2 + 2 + 4. If you watched any of the previous videos with for any of your other signs, you'll kind of have an idea of what I'm about to discuss here. But 2024 all adds up to the number 8. 8 represents a few things. 8 is, in numerology, 8 is the number of the self. It's also the number of karma. Now, karma does not all necessarily have to be bad, but there's a such thing as spirit paying you out from your vault in the divine for the good deeds that you have done in this life and the previous lives as well. So this year also is representative of the 8th house. The 8th house is, people see it as kind of scary, but it really doesn't have to be. The 8th house is the house of taboos. It's the house of death, the death card, but it's also the house of the phoenix, you know, death and rebirth, because rebirth comes from death, and that could take many forms here. The 8th house is associated with the occult. It's associated with sudden gains and sudden losses. It's associated with inheritance. Inheritance, well, that's too many cards. Inheritance does not necessarily have to mean that, it doesn't necessarily have to mean, you know, an actual, like, somebody passed away and you're gaining their inheritance. That's, I mean, obviously that can be the case, but inheritance also is about the behaviors and the belief systems that we've inherited from our parents, from our relatives, from places we grew up. So it's all things that are inherited. So being that 2024 is a karmic year, I see that a lot of us as a global collective are going to be having to do a lot of shadow work. So things might suddenly spill out into the open. Like, because the 8th house is also the house of secrets too. So a lot of things that were hidden might come to the fore. And in order for us as a collective to do shadow work, things in the shadows have to come out into the open in order for them to be addressed and healed. So with that being said, as a collective, you might see a lot of things happen. A lot of secret government activity all over the world might end up being exposed. The same with economics. You might see people suddenly win the lottery, or they might suddenly win things, but the 8th house is also about sudden losses. So in some parts of the world, there might also be like economic hardships. You might see celebrities pass away and their families are fighting over what's left in the estate. But we'll see that as we get into 2024. So 2024, though, for the whole global collective, is going to end up being, it's going to end up being a year where we're grappling with a lot as we tend to do cyclically as a species. So let me just go ahead and take a look at the energies that are bleeding through for each month. So let's see here. We got a lot of swords, a lot of coins too, though. So, oh, Ace of Wands in the Hierophant. Okay, very nice. 5 of Wands, 2 of Cups, 8 of Wands. Okay, you do have a 3 of Swords for July. That's a little disconcerting. I'll pull a few cards on that just to kind of clear it up. January. Okay, so let's get started. So January, I've got 9 of Swords. 9 of Swords doesn't necessarily have to be about an actual loss. This is an anxiety card. And as I mentioned, opening up into the reading, there's a new start that you have that's beginning, and it looks like it's in terms of career. And so 9 of Swords coming up like this is you have a lot of you have a lot of worry about it. So it would appear to me as you're making this new start relatively early within the year. Probably within the first quarter of the year. So 9 of Swords coming up in January. I get a sense that you're trying to narrow down all the logistics. You're trying to gather all the information that you need, and it feels kind of rushed. It feels like you're trying to put it all together in a very short period of time, which explains the kind of the scatterbrain energy that I was getting as I was meditating here too. But in February, you've got 2 of Cups, which is like the exact opposite energy of 9 of Swords. So starting into this year, at least until we get towards the second half of the year, it feels kind of push and pull, like you're being pulled in all directions. You're trying to ground yourself through your relationships, but at the same time, you've got a lot of firepower energy here, and fire and air tend to be very combustible energies. I get a sense around May, you're going to try to rebalance yourself, try to ground yourself, because we have the Temperance for May. But February, take it as it resonates, but 2 of Cups coming in the month with Valentine's Day, I get a sense that you're trying to utilize this month to really ground yourself in your relationships. It doesn't necessarily have to be all about romantic relationships, but you're leaning very heavily on the people around you for support as you take your first steps into this new chapter, because there seems to be, and I'll pull some cards on this, but there's a 5 of Wands for March, which is it's definitely a struggle energy, but being that a lot of you will be stepping into a new career or relearning a new skill set, this also is the card of competition too. It doesn't necessarily have to be all bad. But in April, you've got the 8 of Wands, which is about very fast-paced movement. So I'll just go ahead and show you these cards here. So 5 of Wands, you've got 5 of Wands for March, and then you've got 8 of Wands here for April. So a lot of signs to this point that I've read around March, April timeframe is where you see a huge shift in the energy. The reason being is because in Aries season, that's when we restart the energetic cycle, when we restart our path across the astrological wheel. And being that you have a lot of firepower, it seems like it's propelling you into 2024. Like you spend the first couple of months with a lot of anxiety, trying to figure out what to do here, but that leap forward that you take seems to be happening around April timeframe. So it looks as though this is really the when you actually begin taking steps into this new cycle. You're prepping for it all the way to the end of Pisces season, and then when you get into Aries season, that's when you're ready to take this leap. So as I mentioned, May, you have Temperance, and in the traditional Rider deck, it's an angel balancing out what appears to be the elixir of life between 2 cups. Could be Goblin too. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So Spirit is telling me to address this. I haven't addressed this with this card before, but I'd mentioned elixir of life within the cups, but this kind of looks like the Holy Grail, which is interesting. I haven't actually looked at that in that light, but it totally makes sense here though, because you've got the beam from the divine, you've got angel wings, and you've got your hands outstretched with what looks like stigmata here. I'll just go ahead and say this. I'm not endorsing any specific religion on here. I'm just calling it as Spirit is pointing it out. But what this feels like is that you're going from this energy of being really anxious about the future into feeling like you found the Holy Grail. That's what it feels like to me anyway. So moving on to June, we got the Queen of Swords popping up again, but as I mentioned, I only read this card upright. So this feels more discernment to me. It feels like you're regaining your clarity here. Because after you've settled down, you've grounded yourself, you've done the hardest thing, you've stepped in, you began taking steps into this new chapter. That's really the hardest thing about movement, is actually beginning the process. But you get into this Queen of Swords energy, and the Queen of Swords is carrying what looks like the Ace of Swords, which is truth, it's discernment, it's clear, directed communication. If you look at the Queen of Swords, on the traditional artwork will have her surrounded by clouds, but she knows exactly what she's looking at. And she has her hand out like this, like she's giving directions, she's giving orders. That's what it feels like to me. It's like you're giving out communication, and you're standing in your truth, you're standing in your power, and you're speaking directly at whoever's sitting there listening. I do get a sense for some of you, you might actually, I've been saying this in a lot of the other videos, because 2024, we as a collective are also learning how to properly set boundaries. Not just setting boundaries with other people, but with ourselves as well. Like, in order for people to actually listen to our boundaries and respect them, we have to stand at them and not waver with it. Because if you set a boundary and then you don't defend it, people are going to learn that your word is really not your word, that, your boundaries and your mental health are negotiable things. And I get a sense for some of you, you're doing a lot of cleanup. In order for us to deal with karma, in order to heal, we have to bring it up, bring it out of the shadows, out of what's hidden in the 8th house, so that we can address it and clear it out. So I get a sense that, like all the other astrological signs that I've read, you'll be doing a lot of cleanup too. The reason I'm mentioning this is because in July, we have 3 of Swords. So there might be some, take it as it resonates, but sort of prepare for it, mentally prepare yourself for it. There might be a situation where you're breaking up with somebody, or you're ending things that no longer serve you, and that can actually be difficult. Setting boundaries with people, with organizations, is never really difficult, especially if you're learning how to stand in your power and you really haven't. If you've been kind of forced to be a habitual people pleaser, setting boundaries is actually really difficult. So this is actually the energy that this card is giving me, is that there's going to be quite a few people who do not like the fact that you're standing in your power. These are the people who've personally benefited from you not speaking your truth and not doing things that's best for you. There's some karmic energy that's bleeding out from this card. But going into August, I see, this is the Knight of Coins. This card is always interesting because it's the Knight of Coins, but it has a sword on it. So I always end up confusing it with the Knight of Swords. So because I'm looking at it as that, we're going to go ahead and address it as both energies. So for August, it says, well, this deck is gender neutral, so it says Conqueror, but this says this is a Knight of Coins energy, and you see the sword here too. I get a sense that you are protecting your new foundation material, not necessarily materialistic, but your material and financial foundation, this new path, this trailblazing path that you're creating for yourself. You're having to defend it against people who don't like it. But you're standing in your power. You're standing on this new stability, this new path you've created for yourself, and you're speaking truth to people who are doubting you. And I mean, all of us, when we start doing things that people we've grown up with have never done, there's always going to be the few that, you know, don't believe you can actually do it. And that's what I mentioned with karmic energy coming out here. But Spirit is telling you that even though you have people around you who have never done it before, and you have people who are openly doubting you, and really it is very difficult dealing with energies like that, because you would think that the people who you've known the longest would be the people who would support you first. But it doesn't really seem that that's always the case. But with a lot of this going into the towards the end of the year, I get a sense that regardless of some people not being very supportive or questioning it, you're still going to be standing in a lot of power here. You have the King of Coins coming up for September, which is all about being the main provider. It's about really focusing on building that material and generational wealth, but you are the leader that's actually doing it. I get a sense for some of you that your ancestors have chosen you out of everybody in your family to be the curse breaker. So because of the fact that some of you have been chosen to be the curse breaker, you're going to be dealing with a lot of difficulties from people who don't want to change. They're very comfortable in everything that they've created for themselves. And this is the reason why I say, like, the 8th house of inheritance is not necessarily inheriting money. It's inheriting bad behaviors and curses and generational trauma. Just take it as it resonates. But you're going to be bringing a lot of that up into the fore so that people can address it, deal with it, and heal from it. This includes you. This includes you bringing everything up that you have ever been taught and questioning it and changing your convictions around, which it can feel like a tower moment, but as this oracle card mentions, this change is really positive for you, because I see that towards the end of 2024, after you cleaned up all this muck and started the process of healing it, as you go into this new cycle, you're going to be seen as a leader, not just a trailblazer. I mean, the best leaders are people who are willing to actually stare into the void and question things that everybody else has just kind of accepted because that's the way it's always been. So that's the energy I'm getting for you, Cancers, is that you are going to be creating something that's going to not only clear out a lot of generational curses that have existed in your family lineage, but you're going to create situations where, or not situations, but you're going to propel your family forward in terms of creating that generational wealth. Wealth doesn't necessarily have to look like money and property. It could be something as simple as learning how to communicate with your children and your grandchildren in a healthy way that makes them feel comfortable expressing their needs and wants, instead of making them bottle it up and setting them up for failure when they become adults. It could be something as simple as actually like setting the example to the rest of your family on how love should look like versus what it should not look like. It could be, I get a sense it's going to be a little bit of all of this, because there's a lot of coins here. So we'll go ahead and pull cards to clarify each of these energies and just really dig a little deeper and see what we've got for each card. Moving on, though, you will have to, during this year, you will have to take time to rest and recover, regenerate yourself, because in October, you've got the 9 of Wands, which is a wounded warrior card. But it's still positive, because the wounded warrior, another thing that Spirit is asking me to address is not just wounded warrior, but the wounded healer. You know, the wounded healer archetype is somebody that is digging deep within themselves to heal so that they can transmute that energy and use it to heal the collective. That's essentially what being a light worker is. Being a light worker is being a wounded healer, being somebody who has seen so much of the darkness in humanity, who has learned how to interpret it and heal themselves so that they can use this darkness that they have been exposed to and turn it into light. That's the energies that I'm getting from here, is that you're really stepping into a light worker pathway. So moving on to November, we've got the Ace of Wands, which after rest, you get that spark. Ace of Wands is spark. It's creativity, it's natural talents, it's, like lighting a match. Which actually could be interpreted as, let's see here. Yeah, it's like it's. I mean, this could also be interpreted as a virility card, but I don't see it as that. I see it as regaining that enthusiasm to move forward. And for December, we've got the Hierophant. Some of you might actually be looking for ways to reconnect with your spirituality in order to make sense of everything that you have gone through and try to figure out where your path is leading. But the Hierophant it's a divine masculine card, but it is also a leadership card here too. I realize that some tarot readers tend to look at the Hierophant as orthodoxy and potentially dictatorship, but that's not how I'm seeing it here. I'm seeing it as you stepping into your power as a divine leader and as a light worker. Okay, so let's go ahead and clarify these. Let's clarify the 9 Swords. Okay. All right. Interesting. We got 2 of them here. Personality clashes. Yeah. How would you like to receive? Oh, okay. Okay, so for January, we've got Justice, the Justice card. And I told you that you might be having some issues with the actual air signs, and Justice is representative of a Libra. It could be that you also have heavy Libra placements in your chart too, but this says fairness and balance, doing what's right, cause and effect, consequences. It could be legal matters, but when it comes up upright, it means it. For those of you that are caught up in legal situations, of course, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a random person on the internet, so take it as it resonates. But it could be that it's going in your favor because it popped up in the upright position. But this is also about truth too. So this could have to be used. It could be you are worrying about standing in your truth and doing what's right for you, because it is clarifying the 9 of Swords, which is a trepidation, anxious energy. But even though you are anxious to speak, it still points out that you are going to speak your truth. And clarifying the 2 of Cups for February is 5 of Wands, which says personality clashes. Now, I did mention that this is the year for cleaning out a lot of the muck. I do get a sense that you are moving in the direction that you want to move, even though a lot of people might not like it. And yes, you are beginning this process on a mental level before a physical level in the beginning of the year. So it could be arguments. So just be cautious of that. Because we've got, okay, so that's for both February and March. Okay, yeah, you might actually be having to stand in your power pretty early in the year. So let's see what we got here. Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. All right, so March, clarifying the 5 of Wands, we got 7 of Cups reversed, which is clarity of thought. You're regaining clarity. Because you know how I mentioned opening up this reading, there's a lot of scattered energy, a lack of direction, confusion. It looks like you're regaining that clarity, because this card says focus, action, seeing a clear choice, decisive. So you're making a decision. You're making a decision which may be because of personality clashes, or it might end up causing some personality clashes, but I get a sense that the decision you're making is really doing what's best for you after you've been giving and giving and giving to everybody around you and they didn't really appreciate it. which would make the Justice card make sense, but also a lot of the air energies too. Let's move on. Okay. Yeah, there's Eight of Cups reversed, which is another lack of direction card here. But you've got Two of Coins upright, which is a balancing act. And this, the Two of Coins, okay, so the Two of Coins is coming from the Temperance, which is also about restoring balance. So I get a sense that you're balancing out what's going on in your mind and what's going on in the material. Clarifying though, the Eight of Wands, which is a movement card, is the Eight of Cups. So eights, I believe in synchronicities as some sort of confirmation here, but I'm getting a sense that you're trying to figure out whether you should stay or go, because Eight of Cups is lack of direction, but it also says staying for the wrong reasons. So just be cautious. It also says being dishonest with yourself and with others and faking your happiness, brave face. So I get a sense that you're kind of tired of putting on a brave face. You're tired of staying in situations for the wrong reasons just to make other people happy. And this goes right in line with the boundaries energy that I was talking to you about. But you're restoring the balance for yourself. I get a sense for some of you, you've had people in your family, maybe some friends that have been consistently asking you to give them money at your expense. And they don't really seem to care how it's affecting you. And you're just kind of feeling you're feeling used and you're feeling underappreciated. And Two of Coins and the Temperance coming up is telling me that you're trying to restore the balance. The give-take relationship is very askewed and you're trying to restore that. But I get a sense some people might actually be a little upset about that. So let's go ahead and clarify that. Okay, so we've got the Fool upright on the bottom. We got the Fool upright, a free spirit, but it's also about new beginnings, setting out, adventure, opportunity, and jumping into the unknown. And we also got Summer Solstice. So Summer Solstice says, pinnacle of success, let go of control, celebrate life, have fun in summer. Yeah, there's a need for you to take some time to have fun in 2024. Don't allow people to get you all caught up in what's going on with them. You need to focus on yourself too, because you are also important, and so is your mental health, your mental and emotional health. There is a tendency for people to get so bogged down into the energies that we are surrounded by that we forget that, you know, having fun and being creative and tapping into your actual power, like your creative power, your happiness. There's a tendency to forget that that's equally important to maintaining that balance that we as humans seek. So the clarification card I got for Three of Swords, as I mentioned, I'm pulling out several cards here, but I got Five of Cups reversed, which is overcoming despair, forgiveness, accepting change, ready to move on, healing and letting go. And we've got Nine of Swords reversed. So this card says Nine of Swords upright is mental anguish and reverse is emotional anguish. I actually don't make a distinction between the two because I feel like they're both deeply connected. One definitely affects the other in positive and negative aspects, but Nine of Swords reversed. It says emotional baggage, regret, past life trauma, healing past life trauma, intense feelings, and unresolved issues. And that's coming up as clarification for the Three of Swords. But at the bottom, you've got Five of Cups reversed here too, which is healing. So I get a sense that there's the boundaries you're setting, the pathway you're taking. You're going to end up having to make decisions that are not going to make a lot of people happy, but it's going to help you heal. Right, because Temperance is at the bottom underneath this. Five of Cups reversed, so is the Moon, which is your subconscious, so is Judgment. I feel like you're calling judgment on a lot of people, and you're not carrying Ten of Wands their weight around anymore. Two of Swords reversed, that's that, this says a clear warning, go within. Don't cross, considering options. but I view that as clarity. But the thing is, I feel like you need it. It says a warning and then the tower's behind it. Yeah, just be cautious around July. I feel like somebody might try to come in and fight you on setting your boundaries here. Just stand in your power, and focus on your healing. So let's move on to August. That's too many cards, Spirit. I'll pick one. Okay, we've got Eight of Wands, clarifying the Knight of Coins. So I feel like after you've stood in your power, you're going to be moving forward at a rapid pace, because Eight of Wands is clarification here. And we've got Knight of Cups at the bottom upright, which is following your heart. So all of this feels to me like you're moving on, following your heart, and going in a very positive direction. After you cleared everything out, you've made room for the universe to give you the abundance that you need. Emotional, mental, material, the abundance of love as well. Because Knight of Cups is here, and that's a love card. It's a love card. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. Knight of Cups could also just be, really connecting with people who are good friends of yours. But Eight of Wands, gaining momentum. So you're able to heal rapidly and move on to the next step, which is really positive. It's really positive coming after the energies that are sitting with July here. You're able to do everything it is you need to do and move on and focus on yourself. Let's get clarification here for the King of Coins, please. Oh, there we go. Oh, yay. All right. Yeah, real good energy for September. Okay, so we've got the King of Coins, which is the ultimate provider card. It's also about, it could be representative of a major financial payout too. I don't like passing this message along, so forgive me if it's a little spicy, but some of you might actually be dealing with issues regarding inheritance, like actual inheritance. But in September, you got the Ruler of Coins, which is a payout, right? And you've got Three of Cups upright, which is celebration. It's a reason to celebrate. I do realize a lot of tarot readers look at this card and think automatically like a third-party situation, but in this case, absolutely not. If it were reversed, probably, but it's upright. So, and at the bottom, you've got Empress, which is that divine feminine. So this reading applies to both divine feminine, divine masculine, and maybe some of you are learning how to balance these energies out within yourself too, because all of us carry all of these energies. And as a light worker, as you're stepping into your purpose to be a light worker, you have to learn how to balance out these energies within yourself as well. That includes addressing mother wounds, father wounds, past trauma, generational trauma, things like that, which are very, very, very difficult to deal with. But I get a sense that through all the wishy-washy energy that leads you up to the months of August and September, you're really, really healing from it, and you're taking it well, and you're handling it like a boss, so to speak. You're really stepping into your power here. But yeah, Empress at the bottom, divine feminine. Yeah, you got the Sun. Yeah, good positive cards here. A lot of recovery energies there. Oh, look, the Six of Coins popped up again. Giving and receiving, generosity, balance, kindness, accept, equal give and take. Equal give and take, as I was mentioning earlier in this reading. So this is confirmation. So you're learning how to restore balance within your relationships. And Nine of Wands here, we got a clarification card for Nine of Wands for October. Page of Coins upright, which says laying a foundation, setting goals, staying grounded, good news, hard work pays off, ambition, and faith. So this is also about good news regarding money and jobs as well, career. But that's going over Nine of Wands, a wounded healer, wounded warrior. You're getting good news, and it makes me feel like the news that you get, it takes a huge weight off of your shoulders, and you can finally sigh, a huge sigh of relief, just letting out that air. And it's like, oh, finally, okay, Everything is done. I've completed everything that I needed to do here. I tied up all the loose ends. Now I can step in to this new emotional cycle. Yeah, now that makes sense here with going into the Ace of Wands for November. So let's get a clarification card on that too, please. Oh my goodness, you're getting all the pages. Okay. So for November, we've got Page of Wands upright, which is energetic powerhouse, and that is supported by a huge energy boost here with the Ace of Wands. So energetic powerhouse, exciting plans, charismatic, good news, and you've got a lot of good news here towards the end of the year. So good news, travel, could be travel, you could be going on vacation. Definitely a good time to go on vacation after you've dealt with a lot of mixed energies, just to kind of like clear everything out. But I get a sense that you're going to, yeah, see, look, playful and creative and good news. Charismatic, exciting plans. Yeah, it feels like after a lot of this, starting August and moving through the rest of the year, it's just nothing but positive energy here. Very, very positive celebration, movement, balanced out your finances, your emotional health, reconnecting with relationships that are good for you because we got 3 of Cups here, this celebration card, but also reconnecting with the divine and yeah, see, look at the bottom, deep emotional cleanse here. I feel like a lot of this was triggered by the recent eclipse cycle. Wow, a lot of energies here. Okay, so the Hierophant, Pride Before the Fall. Okay, that's a warning card. All right, so let's clarify the Hierophant. All right, so Temperance came up with the 8 of Swords here, but King of Coins, Ultimate Provider, and the Emperor. Oh my God. Okay, and 2 of Cups. And Knight of Coins. Okay, so I feel like this is just warning you to be cautious, not to be too focused on the material. Because we got King of Coins, we got the Emperor, we got 8 of Swords. 8 of Swords, though, that's like self-entrapment energy. I realize a lot of tarot card readers look at 8 of Swords as like you're going to jail, and I'm not really picking that up here. I don't see jail. Not at all. I feel like this is more like trying to maintain that balance and trying not to get sucked back in to karmic cycles. I really think it's just about you taking time out for yourself so that you can completely and fully digest what it is that you went through and how you can transmute it into positive energies. But you're really stepping into your power because we've got 3 major divine masculine cards here. They're upright. I'll show you. They're upright here. But 2 of Cups again, which is all about partnerships and companionship. So some of you might actually be connecting with the divine masculine, and that goes out to the divine feminine energies. And to the divine masculine energies, watching this reading, you are really stepping into your power here. But the Temperance reverse, though, which shows you just to make sure you keep everything in perspective and try not to get to overindulge into excess and maintain that balance. There is a tendency for us to give back into our South Node once we learned all the lessons that we're supposed to learn for the year. Once we cleared out karmic energies, there is always that tendency for us to want to step back into what's familiar, even if it's not good for us. So I think that's just that's what's warning you here, because December is around the holiday season, and that's when a lot of people go back and visit family. So just don't let people try to pull you back in to old cycles that no longer serve you. That's the message I get from that. Okay, so we're going to move into the astrological houses here, and we're going to start with the first house, which is the house of the self. Okay. See, I told you that it was people in the 5-dimensional guiding you. And what came up for the first house is your connection to your ancestors and to the divine. So that's who's guiding you through these cycles here. So 2024 feels like you're going to have a lot of divine guidance to move through the year. I I get a sense that some of you, a lot of your identity revolves around the power of your ancestors, which is why setting boundaries with relatives can be so difficult, is because you have a deep respect for your lineage, but at the same time, you're becoming aware of behaviors that are just not okay. And so you're trying to find the balance of protecting yourself and defending yourself and standing in your power, and also keeping that respect for the people who've come before you. Yeah, this makes total sense here. Reflection and soul work. So moving on to the second house. The second house is about material foundation. It's a wealth house. It's a money house. Stability. And the card that came out for strengthening your tendency to attract wealth and maintaining your stability was doing the soul work. So this goes right in line with what I was saying for a lot of you stepping into the cycle of learning how to become a light worker. Is in order for us to do that as light workers, we have to really digest everything that we've been through, the good, the bad, the ugly, balance out our energies, transmute all the negative, and turn it into light. I will not be surprised if the transmute card pops up during this reading here, but I'll go ahead and place it down for the second house. Third house is the house of intellect, of communication. It's also the house of siblings here too. So let me just get a card for that. Yep, we got movement and release. For the third house, which is communication and intellect. And you've got movement going on there. So all of the energies that feel like they're scattered in the third house, by the end of the year, everything is going to make sense. Everything that feels like it's all over the place will make sense, and it'll have a very strong forward-moving direction in a positive way. But being that you have release at the bottom, it requires you to release what doesn't serve you anymore. So moving on to the fourth house. Okay. Paradox. Interesting. So the fourth house is the house of family. It's the house of foundations. And what jumped up here was paradox. So opposites. I get opposites attract. I get yin and yang. I get balance and imbalance. I get things that don't make sense that need some sort of resolution. This card is also about resolution here too. It's an 8-pointed star though in a wheel. So I can't help but also think that this is all involved in, for some of you guys might actually like studying Buddhist texts, but the Eightfold Path is everything that you had been through. When you learn how to transmute all of those energies, it brings you closer to enlightenment. And as light workers, we're constantly being asked to enlighten ourselves. So I get a sense that your path towards enlightenment has a lot to do with your family and your ancestors, and clearing out generational trauma. Because reflect is at the bottom here. And in order for us to really alchemize, we have to reflect. So moving on to the fifth house now. Fifth house is the house of creativity, of natural talents. It's the house of the stock markets, real estate. A lot of lottery winners have very powerful connections between the fifth house and the ninth house. Just as a fun fact. And in the fifth house, I get a sense for creativity, for your own natural talents and your natural power. You got reclaim. You're reclaiming your power. You're reclaiming your own destiny. You are taking control of your destiny, which is a really, really good card for the house of luck. The fifth house and the ninth house are both kind of seen as lucky houses. But I feel for this purpose specifically, you really unlock a lot when you reclaim your power. You unlock a lot of gifts, a lot of open doors, a lot of doors from the universe when you learn how to reclaim your power, when you stand in your power. All right, so let's move on to the sixth house. Okay, Spirit, if I can get a card for the sixth house, please. Okay. All right. Sixth house is kind of interesting. So And it's interesting that shadow pops up here too. It's perfect for the 6th house. The 6th house is the house of legal disputes. It's the house of enemies, but it's also the house of health and how you heal. It could be considered the house of conflict and war. It's also the house of pets. And you've got a card here with animal skulls that say get wild popping up for your 6th house, but at the bottom you've got shadow. So I feel these placements in the 6th house really give you power to deal with any conflicts here. I feel get wild, I associate it with a card called the wildling, like radical freedom. But this to me feels like liberation from the shadow, like doing the shadow work to regain that liberation, and that might require dealing with some conflicts. Healing is never always easy, especially when you're wresting your power back from people who've stolen it from you. But I get a sense that that is actually going to liberate you in like a myriad of ways. So I feel that that's a very positive, powerful energy coming through for the 6th house here. So let's move on to the 7th house, which is the house of partnerships, romantic, business, friendships, family relationships, but partnerships nonetheless. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So we've got the Magician and we've got surrender, clarifying the 7th house here. I feel like a manifestation card coming out. This could also be seen as a jack of all trades card, but you've got the 3rd eye here as well. With surrender though, which also has the 3rd eye or all-seeing eye, for some of you it could be the Eye of Ra. Yeah, that's interesting. All right, Egyptian energy is coming out here too. But I get a sense that you're manifesting things. Your power of manifestation's it's very strong at this time. But I feel in order for your manifestations to come to light, you first have to surrender to the divine. And this is something I was actually going to bring up because I know I mentioned the Tower earlier in this reading. Towers tend to be more uncomfortable if we fight them instead of surrendering to the change. Because you have to keep in mind, when I mentioned this oracle earlier in the reading, that this change that you're about to go through, it's necessary, it's positive, and it makes you an extremely powerful force to be reckoned with. But towers tend to be very disruptive if we resist them. So I think Spirit is advising you to trust the divine, trust the unknown, and don't fight it, which I realize is easier said than done, but that's the message for that specific house that I have for you here. For the 7th house, so it could, the way this takes place here, and look, void at the bottom, right? Trust the void, jump into the void. I feel like what you're manifesting is breaking away from toxic partnerships. So let's go ahead and get a card for the 8th house. Get a card for the 8th house, please, Spirit. Okay, I'll get that one. Share wisdom. So a lot of light workers they utilize the 8th house to help with shadow work. And this is for the 8th house here. And what you have is share wisdom. I did mention that the 8th house tends to be the house of taboos, things that people hide but don't want to talk about. And I feel like you're jumping right into it and addressing it because nobody seems to want to deal with it. And it's creating more weight and causing more problems. And you're like, all right, well, if nobody else wants to talk about this, then I'm going to address it. I'll just address the elephant in the room so that we can bring it out and heal it. So share wisdom. It feels natural for that house here too. Oh, interesting. The outlaw. Oh, look. Transmute. I told you I wouldn't be surprised if this popped up. Look what popped up. All right. So for the 9th house, the 9th house is the house of fate. It's a fortuitous house. It's, thinking about it, it's also an education house. It's a lot of powerful scholars, the intelligentsia over the years have had heavy placements in this house too, particularly with the Sun, Jupiter, or Mercury. And what you've got here for the 9th house, and this is probably the reason why I'm bringing up education and wisdom and knowledge, research, is because you have the outlaw. This does not necessarily mean anything illegal or illicit is about to take place here. This just says that you have been chosen as the curse breaker of your lineage, and that requires you to be the local outlaw, to go against the grain and really address the things that need to be addressed, which is why a lot of people might end up fighting you on it. But you've got that transmute here, which I said it would be. I would not be surprised if it popped up. Well, guess what popped up? So a lot of these energies you're bringing up, you're grappling with them and transmuting them in a positive way so that people can move forward. All right, so let's address 10th house, which is the house of career. Dare to dream. I get a sense for a lot of you. Some of you may be retired, so this might just be a change in direction. You're really challenging societal norms when it comes to like what people should be doing or looking like when they're retired. But for some of you that are stepping into a new career path, one that you've been building for a while, this is very encouraging. Dare to dream, because as I mentioned, your powers of manifestation are very strong at this time, and I feel like you're going to be doing a lot of healing and a lot of growing in a bunch of different ways. Like, it's not just mental and emotional. You're going to be growing in a material sense as well. And that could look like you going into a career that nobody thought that you should be or would be going into, people doubting you. But dare to dream here, the outlaw and power of manifestation, and get wild and movement, soul work. I get a sense, yeah, see, higher perspective is at the bottom. I get a sense that regardless of what people think, this is the path that was meant for you. This is your soul's path, and you were chosen for this. All right, so let's move on to the 11th house. Oh, there it goes. Trust. Okay, so it's interesting that Dare to Dream came up in the 10th house, and the 11th house is the house of hopes, dreams, and wishes, wish fulfillments. You're being asked to trust that your wishes are, the universe is working on the things you put into the ether. Your guides have heard you, your ancestors have heard you, your prayers are not being ignored, but you need to be patient and trust. Trust that it's being worked on, because it does take time. You also need to trust yourself and trust your own inner wisdom and your inner knowing too. Because at the bottom we have ask body, which is very important, because when we're caught up so much in the rat race and in life, we tend to disconnect our minds from our bodies. And you're being asked to reforge that connection and learn how to trust your own internal warnings and signals. If it doesn't feel right, then 99% of the time it's not right. Okay, and for the final house, for the 12th house, the 12th house is representative of mental health sometimes, depending upon the cards that pop up, but it's also representative of the divine, the unknown, of the unseen. Very similar, actually, to the 8th house. So we'll see what comes up here for the 12th house. Please, Spirit, if you could provide. Self-love, interesting. We've got, look what's peeking out, the warrior and the sovereign. Yeah, I mentioned warrior here too. Okay, I'll pull that one out. And take risk. There's a lot of stuff coming out here for the 12th house. So I feel like this is where you're going to draw a lot of your power here, especially if you have like a stellium in there. Anyway, warrior makes sense, because I mentioned wounded warrior several times during this reading. But self-love, it's like the universe is asking you to regain that self-love, but I feel like you've got a peacock there too, and peacocks are all about finding that inner beauty. I tend to associate them with kind of like, not just showcasing your power, but also transformation. Interesting. And then take risk and fate and manifest. Oh my God. Okay. All right, take risk, fate, manifest. Okay, so I feel like all of these cards here are advising you that whatever it is that you were thinking about taking a risk on to help heal, everything, all the energies surrounding you to help you with your shadow work that you're doing here. It requires self-love. It requires stepping into the archetype of the warrior, taking the risk and manifestation and fate. Withdrawal being here, speak truth, strength, the universe, underworld, creator. Yeah, man. Yeah, and boundaries. Higher perspective. Okay. Yeah, I feel like the 12th house is really going to be where you're drawing a lot of your power, and that's the direct connection to the divine. That's what that house is. And a lot of people who have heavy placements in the 12th house tend to be very esoteric, very spiritual, spiritually driven. The 12th house sometimes can also represent moving out of your homeland and into a different one, which could, it explains why at the beginning of the reading I was talking about fears before you move on. There is movement, a lot of movement within this reading, so for some of you, you might actually be moving out of the country. But take risk here, and all the cards behind it, it's the divine telling you that you are supported, you are guided, and you are heavily protected. And you just have to learn how to love yourself and trust your own power. Stand in that warrior archetype, because what you're doing, what you're about to do, is going to heal. You're going to break so many curses doing this. This is really, really, this is probably the most powerful reading I've done as of yet for a water sign. A lot of really, really heavy energies here, but Cancers, I know you can, this stuff would not be coming out if Spirit didn't think that you could handle it. If Spirit thought, if the divine thought that you can deal with it in this lifetime, it wouldn't be coming up like this. So this is really, really cool, Cancers, but that's all I have for you for this reading for 2024. I do recommend you come back, bookmark this video and come back so that you can rewatch it and see what resonates, what isn't. You probably won't remember everything that's come up in this reading. So, but again, that's all I have for you. Shalom, and I will see you next time.